What's up, everybody? Neil McDevitt here, and in this video we are talking about the business models that are most likely to survive the artificial intelligence revolution that we are currently going through. So in this presentation we're going to be covering an analysis of a few different things, including the current capabilities of artificial intelligence and what it means for emerging capabilities of future models. We're going to talk about the direction that OpenAI has said they want to steer this technology. And the reason I say OpenAI specifically is because historically, they kind of are setting the tone in the industry at large. This might not be true forever, but it is true today. So that's the data that I'm using. And then next, we're going to talk about the rate at which this technology is accelerating. Then we're going to talk about where the money is flowing, where it is being allocated, and to what magnitude or how much money is being allocated in this industry. And then we're going to talk about the current skills that AI is already starting to extremely improve or even aid or replace altogether. Then from this data, we are going to apply first principles thinking and approach our conclusions by looking at the second and third order consequences to make two separate lists of business models. The first list being the ones that I think are likely to go extinct, and the second list being business models that I think, if they are persistent and they pivot maybe minorly, they can reasonably withstand the artificial intelligence revolution that we are going through today. And again, this is not a for sure fact. I am not a genie in a bottle. These are simply the conclusions that I am drawing based off of this data and applying some basic mental models. And this is just my personal opinion also. So what are the current capabilities of artificial intelligence? So in order to see where this technology is heading, we first must know the initial position in order to determine the final position of this technology. Then we're going to analyze what forces are being placed upon this, at what velocity is it traveling, is it accelerating, and what other external forces are being applied onto this thing in terms of capital, in terms of regulation, in terms of where the entities that are creating this technology want to actually steer it. So what can this technology do today? What is the initial position of this technology? So currently it is extremely good at providing advice. Currently it is being tested in legal and medical practices. It can diagnose diseases that doctors can't even diagnose in some cases. And as far as the legal work goes, it is saving lawyers very large amounts of time because it can go through legal documents or large papers within a very short period of time, where it usually takes lawyers a very large amount of time to really go through and understand all of the complex topics within there. Second is coding. Currently, this technology can automate about 60 to 70% of a software engineer's job. So a good example or a way to look at this is whenever we look at the company ElevenLabs, they are creating a software that is mixed with ChatGPT 4 called Devin. It's basically the first AI software engineer. You may have seen it before. And what they have previously done, just using the GPT-4 model, is Devin can code up to 60% of itself, meaning humans are only required 40% of the time. Now with GPT-4 Omni model, I'm willing to bet this is substantially increased considering the abilities it has at coding, but this is also only going to improve with time. Very soon, we'll see 90 or much higher percentages of the jobs being completely automated with AI. So content creation. I personally have a Twitter page that is 100% ran by AI. I don't really do anything. I'll be eating at a restaurant or I'll go to the gym and I'll look at my phone and I'll be like, oh, my AI just posted a tweet for me, and I'll read it and I'll be like, wow, that's a very fascinating tweet. If I were to scroll on Twitter or X and I saw that, I would probably stop and read it just because of the information that it is giving me. So it's really good at creating content already, and I use it to help me create these PowerPoints. Obviously, these pictures are all generated by artificial intelligence for the most part, and so are the graphs within this, within the presentation. All of these graphs are generated by AI. I give it a one-sentence prompt, and it gives me everything that I need. So this is something that is already happening. Next is translating languages. So currently, this can happen live across 50 different languages. If you watched the release of ChatGPT 4.0 and you watched the actual video, you probably saw that using voice, It can transfer languages or translate languages back and forth between two different languages. And this can happen across 50 different languages so far. Next is data analytics. So currently, these models can pretty much do a full-time data analyst's job within seconds. The only really constraint is the fact that these models aren't really grounded in reality yet, and they aren't given agentic frameworks. But this is something that is changing relatively soon, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. But data analysts are likely to be replaced, and this is something that is happening. It's really good at doing any type of data analytic work and everything like that. Web browsing. So these models can already go throughout the web, do research on your behalf, and bring you back very, very good information, depending on the topic that you were talking about. Retrieval augmented generation. So this is something that also helps the lawyers out. Like we mentioned earlier, this is where you can get an 1,000-page paper, give it to the large language model or give it to the AI, and now the AI acts as a human being that understands all 1,000 pages, and it even remembers every single word on every single page and exactly where that word was. And it remembers everything about the complexity of all of the concepts on the pages. So you feed the pages to the model, and now it is an expert on the actual PDF that you gave it, and you can have a conversation with the model, and it'll tell you everything you could possibly want to know about it. You could even ask, what are in between these two words, and it'll tell you the exact word that are in between those two words. That's exactly how good this is. Next is image generation. So logos, images, pieces of art, etc. will be made on the fly in seconds. This is already happening. My logos on all of my everything is created by AI. I don't personally create logos. My AI does, right? And this is soon to come with video. Next is self-driving vehicles. And this is something I'm personally excited for. Tesla is making massive strides in full self-driving, and I'm super excited for the robotaxi that is coming out this August. So, with GPT-4o, or the model that has just been released, GPT-4 Omni, we now have a desktop app which has vision of your computer screen and can be controlled with voice commands, which brings us to the next slide here. What are emerging capabilities of artificial intelligence? So with the new desktop app from OpenAI, which has vision of your computer screen, we can ask ourselves, what other AI company uses vision and sensors to detect its environment? Well, I think the answer is pretty obvious. Tesla. There are currently 4 million Tesla vehicles on the road that all have cameras and sensors that detect their environment, and Tesla uses that data to train their full self-driving models. There are over 180 million ChatGPT users, all of which now have free access to the most powerful artificial intelligence model on Earth. In fact, the most powerful artificial intelligence model on Earth is free for everybody. OpenAI released it free for all users, for all people on Earth that have access to the internet and have an email. You can use it for free, and it's the most powerful model. They understand that this is going to cause a lot of traction, a lot of usage, and a lot of data that they can capture with the desktop app. Whenever all these users join and they all have a desktop app and they're all doing actions on their computer, they're going to get an immense amount of data very quickly to train these large language models or these large omni models, because that's what they are now, on that data, giving them robotic process automations on your computer, on your local device. Just how Elon Musk has said that the cars are they're no longer cars. They're actually now robots on wheels. Now your computer won't actually just be a computer that you do work on. It'll be a robot that operates your computer for you just by you speaking to it. This is something that is currently happening. And one could argue that this is somewhat speculative, but to me it seems like a very logical and obvious next step. And I've talked with many other people and they agree very much so. So on top of this, ChatGPT 4o, or ChatGPT-4 Omni model, is no longer an LLM. It's now a large Omni model, meaning the model is more general. It's a more general model with better reasoning, and it is more grounded in reality. So what I want you to imagine is a human brain in a jar. This is what this current model, or let's talk about the past model. Let's talk about GPT-4 without the Omni. It was a brain and a bar. It was a neural net, or not a bar, a jar. It was a neural network without any type of sensors. And then you could talk to it in language, and it would semantically reason and give you language back, which is why it wasn't extremely reliable, but it was pretty good. It didn't really have any type of grounding. It didn't really have any way to conceptualize things. It was probably trained on small amounts of imagery data and things like that, just so it had the ability to look at things and say, that is an apple, right? But it didn't really have the ability to conceptualize what those things actually meant. With an Omni model, where the neural network is now trained on more than just language and some visualizations, and now has the ability to output those things, what we can look at is just like your brain. Instead of being a brain in a jar, you now have a brain with eyeballs and ears in a jar. That's what an Omni model is, where it can now hear, it can sense, it can hear the sounds, it can make, it can conceptualize the sounds, it can conceptualize text, and it can also relate those things with video and images, and it can do so very well. And it's exponentially getting better, and it can reason across all of these different things at once, and even output those things because it has a better understanding of those things, all built within one neural network, all within one brain. So what this brings is emerging capabilities as far as better reasoning, that it's more reliable, a better sense of grounding in reality. Personally, I don't think these things are going to be extremely grounded until they have like their own nervous system and their own arms and legs, and they have all of their senses, and they can even feel gravity on themselves, and they can lift things up, drop them, and experience gravity for themselves. That's when they're really going to start to have their own subjective like experiences and extremely high levels of intelligence where they can conceptualize the entire world around them. That's what I believe. And it's very interesting that right now we're currently like discovering a new physics. I think this is pretty obvious, but if we think about it, like we've always had theories of intelligence and theories of consciousness without ever having any examples to be able to relate it to besides the human brain, which we never really understood. But now, with the new models that we're building, we're basically simulating this consciousness, or maybe not consciousness, but we're simulating intelligence. And from that, we can develop stronger conceptions, or stronger, we have stronger understanding of what is actually happening. What is intelligence? How can we create intelligence? What are the properties? What are the physics behind intelligence? And soon, maybe we'll have that for consciousness as well. So, what direction has Sam Altman said this should go? So, again, not everybody agrees here, but I think Sam's opinion on the direction of AI is very important, if not the most important, because he has the most powerful tech, the longest vision, the best brand, and he has the best talent and partnerships with the most powerful entities in the world, including Microsoft, recently Apple, and he has a strong influence amongst the presidents of other countries, many countries, and Sam has repeated many times that AI, similar to nukes, should have certain global regulations, which I tend to agree with to a certain extent. He believes that AGI should be developed with a combination of autonomy and constraints. He realizes the potential for AGI to operate autonomously in ways that can greatly benefit society, but he also emphasizes the critical need for robust constraints to ensure safety of humans, to ensure ethical behavior and alignment with human values. I personally don't think we will ever see, or I guess this isn't necessarily true, but I don't think we'll see for a long time a super intelligent artificial intelligence walking around in bipedal humanoid form. I don't think this will happen for a very long time. One could argue that it's inevitable for it to happen eventually, which is probably reasonable, but I don't think it'll happen for a very long time, at least for my foreseeable future, or what I can personally see as a foreseeable future. But I think super intelligent AIs will be regulated globally from not being able to have humanoid form factor, not being able to operate within the physical world. I think artificial superintelligence will be something that mainly governments and the leading companies in the world can interact with and utilize, but I think a lot of people will not really have access to it. We might have access to a very strong, like, general intelligent artificial intelligence, like artificial general intelligence that's as smart as every single human, but not a super intelligence. And I think we'll have bipedal autonomous, very smart and intelligent artificial intelligences, but we won't have bipedal humanoid super intelligence. And obviously, there's a lot of risks to having that. So, what does this mean? Why am I talking about this? So, overall, as humans and entrepreneurs, we will be the ones deploying AI more so than it autonomously defines our goals for us or its own goals and then drags us along. That is why I'm talking about these things. And that is why I'm mentioning all of these things before we actually get to the list of businesses, because we need to define what is this most likely going to look like. And Sam Altman seems to have this vision where superintelligence is not going to be very open to the public, but general intelligence will be, and it'll be as smart as the smartest humans across every single subject, and you will be able to interact with it in the real world, use it as a consultant, a mentor, a coach. You'll be able to bounce ideas off of it, and it'll have a very good understanding of the world that we live in. And I think this is more than likely. And then even furthermore, we'll have bipedal humanoid robots, maybe like hundreds of millions, if not billions of them, that are the same exact thing. They're extremely intelligent. At this point, we're manufacturing labor and intelligence. We no longer just have to reproduce and have children for more labor and intelligence. We're manufacturing it. In fact, we're manufacturing things that are much smarter than the average humans, and they're much more competent than the average humans. And we're able to manufacture this at any velocity and scale that we want to, which is a very crazy thing that we've never really had before. So, all of this being said, how fast is AI accelerating technology? So at the top right, this graph shows the telephone versus advancements in AI over time. And AI, as you can see, aids the development of all technology. It makes everything grow a little bit faster. This is just an example of the telephone. I didn't want to put too many things on here so it didn't get too confusing. But just keep that in mind. The second graph shows the investment of capital in artificial intelligence over time. This graph could be a little bit outdated. I think it's more than likely that it is, because of the fact that just Microsoft and OpenAI alone have signed a $100 billion deal, and this currently says $100 billion is the maximum. But just OpenAI and Microsoft alone have a $100 billion deal for a massive data center. And now the bottom graph, at the very bottom, shows the increase in computational power over time, which we have now broken Moore's law, which is the fact that computing power doubles every 2 years. So we're now increasing much faster than that, which is kind of leading the breakthroughs for this artificial intelligence technology. So something I want you to remember is the fact that where capital flows, historically, progress follows. So if we look at electric vehicles, everybody said it couldn't be done. Capital started to be allocated there, and now we have electric vehicles, and they're soon to be completely autonomous. Same thing with solar panels. Solar panels used to be very inefficient, ineffective, and we just didn't use them because they weren't good. Capital started to become allocated there, and now we use solar panels a lot, especially in other countries. Like, I think China uses a lot of solar panels. United States, not so much, but globally, solar panels are used a lot. And we are now seeing how advancements in artificial intelligence accelerate other technologies, which causes a compound effect. And whenever that combines with capital, and it combines with the most talented humans on Earth, like all of the theoretical physicists that are currently getting into artificial intelligence, this could potentially lead to, quote, hard takeoff if we aren't extremely careful. So, what business models, given all of this data and all of this information that I've just dumped on you, what business models are likely to possibly go extinct? On this page, I think these are definitely going to go extinct over a long enough time horizon. And I have short-term time horizon and long-term time horizon. Let's cover the short-term ones first. So online service-based businesses. Any business where you're selling the skill or expertise of a human will take on an entirely new form. Agency services won't be completed by humans. These business models will look like a software application where you go to a website or you go to an app, and for very cheap, you talk with the AI agent that is being hosted on the website. You tell it what you want. You tell it what logo you want, what you want your website to look like. You tell it to build you a marketing campaign, etc., and it'll do it for you. It'll do it on your behalf. It'll market on your behalf. This is something that is already happening, and it's going to increase as time goes on. You want to build a website? It builds it. You want to build an app? It builds it. You want to build any type of product? It builds it. You want to start a marketing campaign? It does it for you. This is something that is happening. Consulting businesses. AI is already completing the tasks of lawyers, doctors, and this spreads across pretty much all expertise. And the scope of consulting that AI automates is only going to broaden more so and improve more so. There will be a place for human connection in these businesses, but the value from the advice or consulting itself will be abundant and free to everybody who has access to the internet. So if somebody has access to the internet, they have access to the best information distilled down into the best wisdom on earth from any single subject or any single domain across all industries and across all subjects, right? The best information and the best wisdom will be distilled and translated to them and communicated to them, and they could come with their specific problems, talk to this AI, and it'll give advice far better than any human could possibly give them. This is something that's already happening, especially compared to how many garbage consultants and coaches are currently out there. This technology is already better than the majority of coaches and consultants. That being said, let's look at the longer time horizon things. So basic home service businesses, chefs, cleaners, maids, plumbers, painters, electricians, these sorts of things. Many people argue that electricians and plumbers will never be replaced. I think it's pretty obvious that they will over a long enough time horizon. But if we look at it, over a long enough time horizon, the cost of technology has gone down. At first, computers were built for companies only, and then next thing you know, everybody has a personal computer. In fact, we all have a micro-personal computer called a cell phone, and even homeless people have them. That's how abundant they are. The same thing is going to happen with artificial intelligence. It's going to be so abundant. First, it starts in companies, right? It starts in companies, it reduces, it expands margins, reduces employee count, and it makes more efficient and effective companies. Soon enough, as the technology advances, the prices deflate, you will have your own humanoid robot inside of your house. And if you want to have any food cooked, any cleaning done, any laundry done, any plumbing fixed, any electrical stuff fixed, any HVAC stuff fixed, it'll know how to do that. It's as simple as installing a software into the AI. The AI knows how to do it. It will know how to do it when it gets here, right? The only thing I don't see it replacing is something like a roofing company, for example, because a roofing company requires a large amount of materials, or like a large-scale plumbing company where it does commercial type of deals. Anything where you have very large-scale commercial deals, obviously there'll still be companies that do those types of things. But other than that, everything else is going to be pretty much automated. Next. So what business models are likely to survive? So when the intrinsic value of the business is the fact that there are other humans with human experiences as the product, is likely for the business to survive a robot revolution. This is why community businesses are the future. And all consulting and coaching businesses are going to be forced to adapt into what a community business currently is. Because currently coaches and consultants attach the high ticket prices to the scarcity of the information and the scarcity of the wisdom and expertise that the consultant has. But whenever this technology becomes widely adopted, that expertise becomes broadly available, and the cost of it is basically zero, meaning the intrinsic value is no longer the fact that there's expertise. The intrinsic value is the fact that they're humans with their own human subjective experiences. And I think this is something that will become extremely valuable and might even have a premium price in the future. especially whenever it comes to human creations. I think human creations are going to be valued above AI creations as long as you can distinguish that a human created it and not an AI, just because humans like humans, right? So, and the way you would be able to distinguish it is, or excuse me, the way you would be able to distinguish it is by having some type of AI thing that says this is AI, which one could argue, if you're reasonably determined, you could just make it not say this is made by AI and you're just creating. So that could be completely wrong. So community businesses will last. This is a bet that I'm willing to take. This is why I'm building a community business. Next is automation as a service, or automation and intelligence as a service. So like we mentioned earlier, on a commercial scale, cleaning or plumbing or electrical work will still be done by companies. It won't be a thing where everybody has their own at-home robot that does all of those things for them. Maybe the companies will have robots that in the night shift, they go do the plumbing work, and then in the day shift, they do the other work that actually provides value to the company. But I think it makes sense that they would just hire out another company to do, or hire another company to have their humanoid robots do the plumbing work or do any of the electrical work or HVAC work, while the humanoid robots that the company owns that builds the products for them to sell will continue to do the work that they're already doing, rather than switching off back and forth. So that makes a lot of sense. So automation as a service, this could look like Uber drivers with full self-driving vehicles like the robotaxi, garbage collection, commercial services, etc. This model could be similar to the home renters versus rental home owner model that we see today, just for a little example. Next will be entertainment. Video games, movies, experiences, locations for people to travel. If we look at what technology does to humans, it doesn't really change the way they interact. It doesn't really change biology. All it does is it amplifies it, right? So when left to their own devices, what do humans do? Well, we're kind of like monkeys. We kind of just like to consume things. And whenever the vast majority of people are left to their own devices and they're not forced to go to work every day to do jobs that they don't enjoy, they start to consume a bit more, and maybe they do have some other creative outlets and other creative hobbies, but many people find purpose in video games. Many people will find purpose in traveling, or maybe experiencing new different experiences and creating new different art. Entertainment and giving places, or providing places for people to find meaning will be something that becomes very happening in the future. Next is selling physical goods. People will always buy food or clothing or devices to a certain extent, as long as everybody doesn't have an at-home 3D printer, which one could argue that could happen, because if that were to happen, well, then your at-home AI will just say, hey, let's use the 3D printer because it's cheaper, and I'll just create all of your clothing for you, or create any products that you need. I'll design them for you because I know how to do that, because I'm a generally intelligent artificial intelligence. I'm not just, it's like the saying, jack of all trades, master at none. That's what humans are. If you're a jack of all trades as a human, or a jack of all trades as a human, you're a master of none. If you're an AI, if you're a jack of all trades as an AI, you're a master of all, right? So reasonably, it would be able to create any type of designs for the 3D printer, and the 3D printer will be able to create that for you. Cool. Next, inventing new technology that betters the future of humanity. So this is something that I hope will continue to be true. It's not a guaranteed fact, but I hope this will continue to be true. So people like Elon Musk. I'm willing to bet, and I'm hoping that humans will always be the people who shape the future for humans, not AI shaping the future for humans, and we just kind of are dragged along. So that being said, I think the best business models leading the future will be the business models where the creative genius has a massive, beautiful vision for humanity, and he has the ability to deploy AI to create it for humanity. As long as the vision has technology that obeys the laws of physics, it can be created, and as long as we have sufficient technology to support it, and enough intelligence to create it, and enough labor to create it, it will be created. which I think is very beautiful. But all in all, I think the decision and vision will be determined by the human who is bold enough to create it, not necessarily the AI model that thinks humanity should go that way. And this might not be true forever. This is hopefully true for a very long time. Who knows? Maybe one day super intelligent humanoid robots become a thing, and humans are forced to neurally augment ourselves to compete and stay relevant in all of this. But we'll see how that turns out. I'm not going to say anything too crazy. So what you really need to get from all of this information is the fact that the skills of the game are fundamentally changing. AI is fundamentally reshaping the game for everybody, whether you want it to or not, and it is in your best interest to begin to adapt to these changes now and to educate yourself on this stuff now. As for all of technological revolutions, the early adopters amass new levels of abundance and wealth that many could never even fathom before, while the rest of the world trails behind. So it is very important to get on this stuff now, get into AI as soon as possible, understand all of these things and how they're changing the world, and be on top of the moving components because it is better for you. So this is exactly why I am building Ascent. This is a community for individuals like you who want to stay on the forefront of this technology and leverage it to build a better future for yourself and for your family, and potentially even the future of humanity. This is a community of amazing people who are all talking about this topic, and I think it's very valuable for the velocity of information. It's very easy for somebody to watch YouTube videos and say, oh, I'm educated enough, but you're really not. Like, having conversations about these topics all the time causes the velocity of information and new topics and new ideas to increase by 100x. Whenever you have a conversation of 50 people about this topic versus just watching some YouTube videos, the velocity of information is 50 times what it would be if you were watching a YouTube video. So what that really means is communities are powerful, and it is better for you if you are in a community so that you can stay on top of this technology and you can actually build a better future for yourself and your family, and possibly even for the future of humanity. So in our community, we cover how to build artificial intelligence agents, how to build a business that will survive the AI revolution, and we also talk about information that can help you stay ahead of the curve in these changing times. And what I wanted is for everybody to have access and everybody have the chance to become a member of my community. So the current price to join is literally only $1 per month. And you'll be locked in at that price as long as you're a member. If you decide not to be a member, obviously you don't pay anymore. But let's say you decide to join $1 a month. This is the cheapest it'll ever be, but whenever the price raises, your price will not raise. You will continue at $1 per month. So if you do decide to join ever, now is probably the best time since it is extremely cheap and it is better for you and your future. And I personally envision this community becoming one of the most valuable communities on the internet, and the price will reflect that very soon in the near future. We have big plans coming for our members. So if you're somebody who is serious about building a better future for yourself, the best thing you can do is join a community. It doesn't even have to be mine. Join somebody's community of people in a similar position to you that are all talking about these topics and are all aligned on a similar mission of becoming a more abundant person in the future and actually being able to navigate this and being on the forefront of this technology so that you can be safe and sound and have everything you possibly wanted in the future. So if that's interesting to you and you actually want to join my community over somebody else's, again, $1 per month, that is it. Click the link in the description below. If you decide to join somebody else's, please do, because it is only better for you. That being said, I will see you guys in the next video.